Thank you everybody for being here today, taking time and to join our webinar. And this is just in case that you don't know and you are in the right place. This is for the Salt Lake Center of Opportunity Partnership and webinar. And we will be talking about the 2024 request for applications. And so make sure that you are in the right meeting at the right time. So we will start this meeting. Thank you so much for joining us again and taking the time and to be here. Kirsten, thank you. um, so we will be talking about the new program overview. We will talk about the average partner request for application and what are the changes and the highlights and for this 2024. And we will be talking about the service partners RFA application and highlights as well. And we will be talking about the program timeline. And of course, we will give you the time to ask your questions and hopefully we will have the answers. So for the people who have no idea what is this program about, so we are the Salt Lake Center of Opportunity Partnership, and we go by co-op. And this was an initiative from the American Rescue Plan Act. And the program was created in 2022 after ICAP. And so one of the reasons why we created this program was because we identify a need, and the need was in the lower income and diverse communities around the Salt Lake County. And we identified that there was a lot of barriers that the small businesses were facing when they were opening, sustaining, and growing as a small business. And we know and we are aware that the business ownership is key of wealth and building and overcoming international poverty. So we are aware that this is something very important. And that is our why. That's why we created this program. So the mission of the program is we created the program with a business ecosystem structure. And pretty much what we are trying to do is to support small businesses and the resiliency, sustainability, capacity, and readiness for growth. And we also want the opportunity business to access resources. One of the things that we identify is like they are struggling, not only because of the community that they are part of, is also the part that they were located, totally unfair. And that's what we are trying to address with this program. So how it worked, we created this structure as an ecosystem, and the common denominator is the opportunity businesses, and we are partnering with outreach partners and service partners. So the need is the opportunity businesses, and what we want to do is help them to be successful. How we are doing this is connecting with outreach partners, and sometimes they can be chambers of commerce, they are other community partners, and they have an amazing relationship and the community trusts them. We know that we are not capable of establishing that kind of relationship, so that's why we are partnering with you. We need you to make this work. And once they have this connection and they have this trust, and we connect them with the services. So that's why this is so important. And I feel like one of the things that is good about this program is like that we are connecting exactly with the need and with the community. And we are just supervising the program, making sure that everything is running well. But we identify and we are aware that you are the ones having that relationship with the community. That's why we are here today, and we want to do this partnership. So this year there are a couple of changes for the 2024. I know in the previous slide there was like services, and we always mention legal things, bookkeeping, and other stuff, but it's pretty much about how many service partners we get. So we haven't get there yet. That's why you are here to apply today. And but most of the highlights that we are trying to cover during this webinar is more for the average partner application, I would say. So one of the things that we wanted to make sure and to have clear is for you, in order to be part of this program and be eligible, you has to be a community-based organization, and you has to be organized as a nonprofit entity, and you has to be registered to do business in the state of Utah and in good standing. Super important. That's part of your application. If you don't have that part set up, you have time and you have until October 15th to work with that. The service partners and has to be registered to do business in the state of Utah. They also have to be in good standing, and they must have the capacity to perform service and propose. So make sure that you are proposing services that you can definitely offer and that you are capable of doing. So the average partner role, this is super important because this year we will have the executive director of this organization attending the community of practice, and they will provide an assigned navigator. The navigator attendance is required for trainings, meetings, and other events, and they need to conduct outreach to opportunity businesses. That's the navigator role. And the navigator needs to complete business intake assessment. They need to refer to opportunity business to appropriate services, and they need to do a lot of follow-up and business case management. One of the things that we improved this year is direct supervision and coordination for those navigators, and the plan is to continue doing this for next year. So you will be hiring someone, but the county is the one making sure that they are performing accordingly. And we also have a say. We appreciate you as a partner, but is more, this is our program, and we need to make sure that everything is running on the right track, right? And one of the things that we notice is navigators need a lot of guidance. They need to do a lot of follow-ups. And I always present this during training. We are not 211. I don't give you resources and said, good luck with that. If you need me again, give me a call. We are differently. We are helping you to get a service, checking with you, helping with the scheduling, following up with you, making sure that you receive everything that you need, making sure that there is no other needs. And then we are doing surveys, and we are scheduling business check-in with the county. So it's like more like a different process with that. But pretty much that is the average partner role. And we can continue with the next slide. And this is the part about money, right? Nothing is for free. So you can propose the number of weekly hours and for your navigators, and that they will be dedicating to this program. We know that you, as a community organization, you have many things on your plate, that you are trying to do many things, but we want to make sure that the hours that you are requesting is only for this staff member to work with this program dedicated to the co-op program. So the grant cycle has a different award structure, and pretty much how we are asking how many hours you are planning for the navigator to be working, again, dedicated to the program. And we are setting up the goal. So if you are having a part-time employee, and the expectation from the county is like they will have around 2 new businesses on per month. Here says on 0.5 per week, so it's around 2 a month. Um, and we will be giving you a contract award around 49 to 50. And the navigator hours will be up to 26,000. The performance compensation is up to 15, and admin cost is up to 20 to 50, and the community of practice compensation can be up to $6,000 a year. And this is only for the executive director, and we are compensating you for your time and participation in the community of practice. That's the idea that we have for next year. And if it's a full-time employee, and our expectation is that you will get at least one new business per week, and the contract award will be around in 92 and 500. The navigator hour, that's the salary based on the 25 dollars an hour, is up to 52,000. The performance compensation is up to 30,000. The admin cost is up to 4,500, and the community of practice attendance for this executive director can be up to $6,000 as well, because it's exactly the same time and the expectation that we have and the compensation that we want to give you for your time. This is the navigator activity and invoicing part. As I mentioned, we want to keep the navigator compensation in $25 an hour. We think that they do an amazing job. They are essential. They are the ones who make this work, and we want to compensate them fairly. And how this work, we try to do a prepaid monthly payment, and we will divide the amount and make sure that you have the money available. We do this at the beginning of the month, and we send an invoice to the partners, and they have around 5 days, business days, to respond. And pretty much is an easier step this year and for the invoices, and we are hope that it's going to go smoothly for next year as well. So the compensation for initial consultation will be $50. And this, and here says no additional compensation if business attend additional consultations with the same service partner. So let's say that we have service partners offering different services. So if you are attending one meeting, we are paying $50 for that compensation. But if you are referring these opportunity businesses to other services under the same partner, we are not paying additional $50. It's just $50 per, pretty much per service partner. And because you are attending under the same partner, so we are not paying additional compensation for that. Compensation for facilitating opportunity business and after they complete the evaluation, and we are planning to pay $75 per survey, and this is after the survey has been completed. We are paying $200 next year and for a brand new opportunity business. And you know, this is the goal of the program, is like you find new businesses. And we love working with previous businesses, but the goal is to continue serving new businesses. So what we were seeing is like many people reaching out to the same businesses over and over and over, and that is great that we can support their journey. But we also want new businesses, so we are giving that extra $200 for new businesses. And the administrative cost is up to 5% of the award amount. And like I said, we are expecting the executive director to participate in the community of practice. So for that time, we are planning on paying around $500 a month. And this is if you attend, obviously, the trainings and the community of practice. So the service partner role, what exactly do you do when you are offering services? So you need to participate in the community of practice, and you are expected to provide some training to navigators about the services that you offer. You are expected to follow the county outline and referral and reporting processing. Yes, we work with Smartsheet. This can be painful sometimes, but it's part of the program, and it's how we can track the progress that you are making. So we are expecting for you to provide the services that you explain and put in writing for these opportunity businesses. we expect you to communicate with navigators regarding these referrals. And we expect you to submit monthly invoices. We struggle with this a lot, and hopefully we will get better next year. But it's challenging for us to pay you if you don't submit invoices. And we need this. This is your part. This is your job. And sometimes you are doing great with that, but not with monthly invoices. Some people send in invoices to me every 3 months. Not ideal. And hopefully this will be something that we will do better. Exactly, Kirby. Thank you so much. This made me feel good. Somebody understand what I'm trying to say. So how this part is going to work, pretty much you will be proposing your services. So let's say that I am an expert in computer and website programs. So I said, I'm gonna charge you for this amount. These are the estimated numbers of services that I can complete during 2024. And this is the fun part. I am proposing something, and so we'll be sitting and we will say, okay, so we cannot afford paying you that amount. We are proposing you to pay this price for this service. We will have that conversation, and then we will get into an agreement. So we can hopefully find a happy medium, and we cannot pay for everything that you ask for. And so hopefully we will get into that conversation and that agreement, and we will be reimbursing for services provided in a monthly basis. Like I said, that is the ideal. If you work with me, we can make that happen. If not, I cannot pay you if you cannot send me an invoice. And we will be paying again. If you send me the invoice, we can pay. So pretty much the example that we have here is like if you are offering a service and the price is $600, and I said that I will serve 50 businesses. So the budget that I am asking for is $30,000. If the second service that I am offering is $200, and so you will multiply that per the businesses that you said that you will serve, and that is $40,000. One of the things to keep in mind is like make sure that you are offering services and serving a good amount of businesses. Why? Because we don't want to use $50,000 just in 10 businesses. The ideal is that we can use $50,000 and serve a higher amount of services and businesses. So make sure that what you are proposing makes sense and that we can make that happen. But again, this will be a negotiation that will be happening around November. So you can move to the other one, Kirsten. Thank you. The community of practice. So this is one of the highlights that we have for next year. This is an excellent idea that we have, and we are proposing for next year. Who is the person who has to attend this? And is the executive director, the CEO, and president, etc. This is something that will be happening monthly, and we are expecting around 4 hours of this is the commitment that we are expecting, that you will be available around 4 hours and to participate in this community and partnership initiatives. And for the service partners, and this will be on quarterly, 2 to 4 hours, same thing, participating with community partnership and navigator trainings. And the navigator has to do training, one-on-one business check-ins, and other events. So we are expecting to spend around 2 to 4 hours with the county directly. And this is something that will be weekly. And this can be in person, virtual, as needed. And we will go over that. But you need someone who is available in South Lake County, who is available to meet with me in the office at the county and things like that. So make sure that you're choosing a person and that has reliable transportation, those kind of things. And that sometimes seems to be implied, but believe it or not, is some things that we have learned in the past. And make sure that you have the time and that you can commit with this. Liz, I know that you raised your hand. I will go over questions in a little bit. We are almost there, if that is okay. Yes. So the important days, um, you know that this RFA was open on the 15th of this month. We are doing the webinar today, and Cleopatra is planning on having a second webinar on October 12th. And applications will be closing on Monday, October 16th at 5 p.m. In the website, we have 15, that's a Sunday. So we are giving you an extra day. We will be updating that tomorrow. And we will be reviewing applications with the selection committee on October 25th. And we will be working on with the contracts and the awards amount by November 3rd. And we will be doing our partner orientation and hopefully in December 14th. And this is just to talk about the new things and the county expectation. The program will be starting on the first quarter of 2024. So for those of you who are new and you don't know what is going on, I would like to use the time to do introduction. And I didn't want to do it at the beginning because not many people were joined. So my name is Madeline Martinez. I am the program coordinator. I've been working in this program for around, yes, a year and 1 month. I don't know how, but yes, I'm still around. And I have the opportunity to start working as a coordinator, and I've been working with Jevon this last 13 months. And Jevon is the economic development director for the next couple of days, right? And so if you can just say hi and make an introduction to Kirsten, that would be great, Jevon. And thank you for taking care of the chat.
Good to see everybody. Thank you. As Madeline said, Jevon Gibb in this job for a couple more days, but helping out the team today. Replacing me will be Kirsten Swinyard. Happy to hand it over to Kirsten.
Hello. Really excited to work with Co-op, really excited to work with Cleopatra and Madeline and Cassidy, as well as all our future outreach partners and our program service providers. We'll be stepping in, as Jevon mentioned, early next week in an acting capacity for at least the next few months. And so if there's anything that you can't resolve with the Co-op team directly, I'm the one who sort of helps them track down the answers on the back end. And it's nice to see everyone. Thanks for attending.
And we also have Cassidy. Cassidy is the one in charge of everything that happens with your computer and reporting problems. So she's the one. And it's been a pleasure working with Cassidy for the last 6 months. Cassidy, say hi.
Hi, everyone. Good to see all of the names in the participants list, those that I know and those that I will probably get to know in 2024. It's good to be here.
Cassidy, do you want to introduce Taco?
And this is my sweet cat, Taco. He, yeah, if you're on future calls with me to navigate your data and computer problems, he will probably make an appearance. So very integral part of the team.
And we have a manager, and her name is Cleopatra. Cleopatra was not available to be here today, but like I said, she will be conducting a webinar on the 12th, and she is the program manager. She has been with us for about 7 months, right? And we have been through a lot of changes, and now that we are going to be switching from Jevon to Kirsten, we are just trying to figure this out and make this work the best that we can. And it's been a great journey so far. I think that we have something else after this, right, Kirsten? because we have applications and other stuff. So I want to stop here, and for the application, Cassidy will be taking this part, right, Cassidy?
Yes.
But before moving on to the applications, I would like to take some time and opportunity to ask questions about what I just explained. I know that I saw Liz with her hand up, and I know Marianne is also raising her hand. So Liz, what is your question?
Do we need to enable
Yeah,
them to
thank-
speak?
It just took a second to get unmuted there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, thanks, Madeline. Yeah, one really specific question about the navigator transportation that you brought up. If a navigator is traveling to and from a co-op meeting, whether it's a county meeting or a meeting with an opportunity business enterprise, can we submit transportation expense as an administrative expense to the program? A mileage reimbursement specifically?
No, so we don't pay for that. That is why we are compensating them on $25, and why we are compensating for the meeting and for the survey and everything else. And that's why we believe that that compensation should go to the navigator, because they are using their time, energy, and gas in this.
So you will not allow mileage reimbursements as administrative expenses in the program?
No, we don't use it for that. That's my understanding.
Okay.
And I saw somebody else, Amy, and there was Marianne. Yes.
No, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Perfect. First of all, thank you so much for hosting this. These are always very helpful, and I know it takes a lot of time to put these things together and to wrangle all of us. So thank you so much for doing that. And then I was wondering if we had questions, or if we wanted to have you look at maybe like a quick and dirty draft. Is that something that you would make yourself available to do to help us along with the process?
You mean like with the application? If you, I don't know if, yes, you can definitely reach out to us if you have further questions, and email you have on my email, and you can find Cassidy's email as well in our website. We will be sharing recordings of this, and you will find the recordings in our co-op website.
So
And I
just
hope
for
that I
clarification
answered.
there, we cannot review a draft application. We can
Okay,
answer
that was my question.
questions.
Got it.
Um,
Okay. So if we phrase the question properly, then you can help us answer a question.
Yeah, we can answer questions, but it's like we cannot just draft. No, we cannot review that. I'm sorry that I missed that part.
No, that's okay. That's why I'm asking. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And Madeline or Kirsten, will one of you please unmute Teresa?
Oh. I'm sorry, I didn't know she was muted. I was going to call on Amy Felt for a question as well while I figure out how to call on Teresa. Amy, do you want to ask your question, and then I'll unmute Teresa?
Hello?
I can hear you now, Amy.
Oh, you can hear me now? Okay. So I just had a question about the community of practice meetings. As
Mhm.
far as service providers are concerned, you said those are quarterly. Does it have to be the same with the outreach? Does it have to be the executive director that attends that?
For the service partners,
Yes.
yes,
Okay. So Doug would attend that meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, to be clear there, a business service partner will appoint a team lead. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your CEO or your executive director, but it needs to
Okay.
be a single point of contact who is sufficiently senior that they will, manage the program, manage all of the staff who would be supporting on the program.
Okay.
Madeline, that's my understanding. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And Teresa, would you like to add something to the conversation?
At the time, I just couldn't type fast enough. And Jevin responded perfectly. And thank you, Jevin, for reiterating that the county is not able to review drafts, but can respond to questions. So
Yeah,
thank
we can
you.
respond
I
to
didn't mean
questions.
that. Yes, that was perfect. And I just couldn't type fast enough. So thank you.
No worries. And then Daniel Tutau, I apologize if I butchered your last name, but Daniel, do you have a question?
Daniel, do you have a question? So let's move to,
I believe the next question was from Eugene. Eugene, if you can unmute and share your question with the group. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
yes,
All right, thank you everyone here and your time and putting this program together. I just have a simple question. Sometimes we're trying to schedule business people with the service providers and we cannot find an open date. So what do we do in that case?
so we can meet and do a one-on-one. I sent you an invite for tomorrow, so we can go over that. And Eugene, trying to explore options for that. And hopefully we will be able to figure it out on what are the options right there. And we will take the time to go over that and hopefully tomorrow.
Thanks, appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Anne-Marie Wallace from the Women's Business Center Utah, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Thank you for taking my question. I have a few, if that's okay. So I was just a few minutes late, so I don't know that you started with this, but do you have any statistics on the output or impact of the program from this current year? I mean, how many sessions, the breakdown of, the different navigators or service providers? I think that would be really interesting to know kind of the lay of the land and how it's worked so far. And I mean, of course, I'm a data person, so I like to know, what were the most navigators who sent the most people to which organizations? I'd just be curious about that. Is that something that you have that you can share?
We don't have at this moment, but we are working on that. And Jevin can.
Yeah, so we have dashboards where we track that, and I think that's something that can be made we can share that publicly. There's nothing secret about it. We do a lot of kind of internal data tracking.
Okay.
Related to that, Cassidy is working on reports that will be required for existing business outreach partners that shows what they did in the last year.
Okay.
So as part of the application, if you are an existing co-op outreach partner, you have to say, all right, and here's how we did. Cassidy will generate that report. So for the existing partners, expect to receive that soon.
Okay, that sounds great. I do have a few other questions, if that's all right.
Mhm.
I'm just curious. It sounds like, and this is the way I have known it to be, is, you know, if you're a service provider, you're presenting in the application what your services are and what you consider a unit or a session. Have you considered a standard measurement for partners? I mean, some of them are, a lot of us do counseling, so it might be nice if we had standardized like units or what is a session. I'm just curious if you've done that or considered it.
We haven't done that, but as part of the negotiation process, the team reserves the right to negotiate the fee. We didn't do a standard because we have attorneys that apply, we have web developers that apply, graphic designers that apply. Everybody's going to be at a different hourly. What we'd say is the selection committee will look at the relative competitiveness of those proposed hourly rates. And in the past, this does not mean it would happen in the future, but in the past, we have, when we had similar services proposed, we've negotiated with those providers so that there is equitable payment.
good.
We don't want to, pay somebody, a lot of money and somebody else much less money for essentially the same service.
Yeah, especially if they didn't know they could ask for more. So I really appreciate that. That's great. I have a couple other questions. So when we're estimating the number of businesses that we can serve, if we're a service provider but not doing navigation, I'm just wondering if you would suggest that we estimate it based on past performance, or if we don't have navigators, theoretically it would be helpful to know what the navigators' goals are that would correlate to what our services could be. How would you suggest we go about estimating it the very best?
So there, in your application, what I'd say is indicate what your bandwidth is and how that should scale. So if you say, in order to provide this service, I need to hire one person, that one person would have the bandwidth to provide this amount. If there's any ability to just kind of do it in smaller increments, I think it's explaining how that might work, because the selection committee is going to have to understand. We'll bring in all the, I say we, I'm not going to be on the selection committee. We'll bring in all the data from previous years. We've got our kind of expectation for what our goals are. And then it's a matter of figuring out, do we have the right, do we buy the right amount of services from business services partners such that we can meet that expected demand? One of the pieces where, that this program can be a little difficult, like you said, is that the business service partners do not necessarily control their deal flow. So that really is heavily dependent upon the navigators and how many businesses come from the navigators.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily something that we can control, but it does mean that if you are proposing a new service and you haven't been operating with the co-op in the past to kind of understand what the flow should be, that you might need to be flexible or initially conservative in how much additional staffing you bring on. Because if you commit to hiring somebody to work 40 hours a week and we only have about 20 hours a week for you, we compensate based on the services provided, not based on the services that were made available.
Okay, that makes sense. And it is kind of hard to tell, but I do like that you had mentioned, and it sounds like, can there be flexibility to it? The conservative, what we can do, and making sure we explain that if there's more demand, we could accommodate it. Just one comment for us is the Women's Business Center of Utah. We just launched new technology and platforms for our advisors to use, which really helps business owners. But we do train, and we have specific certification for each advisor. So if we bring on a new advisor, there's some hard cost to us prepping them, if that makes sense. So we would just have to make sure that we wouldn't like, if they were underutilized, it would make it bad for our situation. So that makes sense. I have a couple more questions. So are there any? Yeah?
Sorry, one quick thing for those upfront costs. As a business service provider, you can request compensation for certain upfront or fixed costs. You just have to lay that out and provide the justification. So if you have upfront costs to bring on a new advisor, I'd suggest requesting compensation for that in your application, and the selection committee can evaluate whether to meet that request.
Okay, that's really helpful because there is more than ever before for us. I will make these other questions really quickly. So are there service providers who are also navigators, or are at this point, are they separate organizations? Are there any organizations you anticipate will be both sides, navigation, outreach, and also service providers?
Madeline, you want to take this one? All right, I'll take
sorry,
it.
but yeah, you can take it because my sound is, that's what I turn off my video. It's like breaking up a little bit. I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
I may need your clarification on this, Madeline. It is not prohibited for someone to be, for a partner to be both outreach and services. There are some restrictions on compensation. Outreach partners can't be kind of double compensated for referring to themselves. Currently, there are no partners who are both. Okay.
That definitely answered my question. Okay, it's easier for I think for our organizations to just do one side of it, so that's really helpful. Let's see, and I can send these other questions that I have because I don't want to take too much time. But the last one I have is for the executive director for service partners, or you had mentioned a senior like point of contact who's going to manage, you know, the project from like a service provider. I noticed on the navigator side that the executive director can be compensated up to $6,000, but I didn't see that on the service provider side. Even though we're being asked to have somebody, is that also an expense that can be requested?
Can I get back to you on that, please?
Absolutely.
That's one where I'm not sure we contemplated that.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. I have a few other questions, and one of them is about no-shows, and I can send that to, who should I send the questions to actually?
Everything goes to Madeline. And
Okay.
Anne-Marie, what I'd suggest is if you can stay on, we'll probably have time at the end. We can just let some other people go and then we'll circle back to you.
Okay, let me make sure I have nothing. Oh, I can stay after. So yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you for letting me ask so many questions in front of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up in the questions is Liz with Caitlin on deck. So Liz, if you'd like to unmute and ask your question, now's the time.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. The first one is the question about questions. And thanks, Anne-Marie. Thanks for all the questions and the answers, everyone. Would you make this recording available so that we can hear the questions that were asked and the answers? And would it be possible to make questions that are asked offline? Could the answers be communicated to all of us? I'm assuming many of us will have similar questions. That way, if you're answering a question for one applicant, could you include the rest of us in the answer?
Yes, yes, and yes. There will be a little delay in getting the questions posted to the website, but our communications manager will post the slides and this recording to the co-op website where you found the RFA, and then the questions will get posted. It's just that it's probably going to be maybe once a week, so it's not going to be quick, unfortunately.
No worries, thank you. That will be really helpful. The other question I had two others, but Jevin, I believe you answered the first one when Miel and I were going over the application. The performance summary, you will still be sending that out because we hadn't seen it yet. So thank you, got that one. Madeline, when we were talking the other day, you mentioned a as part of an outreach partner application, a budget, a proposed budget. And we've done those in the past, but I don't see in the application where and how you would like us to do that. And I did just review it while we were on the call to see if I'd missed something. So, I mean,
I think that I feel like the reason is because they are trying to do this differently. They are trying to ask only how many hours. So you don't, in the case of the outreach partners, you are just proposing how many hours, and that's why they have that already set up. It's like that is the highest amount that you can get for compensation for admin. And like Jevon said, everything will be available on our website, so you can review again the webinar, and you can go back and make reference to that one.
Okay, so if it's simply a matter of reporting navigator hours as part of the application, that would be really straightforward and easy. We'll keep our eye out. A follow-up, in order to participate as an outreach partner, is participation in the community of practice a requirement?
Yes.
Okay, just in reading through it. All right. And reiterate, team leader?
Yeah, for that one, the intent is that it be the executive director. Our assumption is the CBOs and the outreach partners are smaller organizations, whereas the service partners might be larger. If there is any issue with the executive director or CEO participating, please put that in your application.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Liz, if you don't have any other questions. Caitlin?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just had a question about sort of like the relationship between like the outreach partners and the navigators and the service partners. And I'm just like, so do the navigators like learn about all of the service partners that are available and like sort of what their like qualifications and requirements are, and like that sort of coordination, is that all what's happening in the community of practice? So that like I guess if we were a service partner, like how would we know like what people were being referred to us were like the best people that we're going to be able to serve?
Madeline, do you want to talk about your weekly trainings with the navigators and the orientation?
Yeah, so this is something that we can, if you are awarded, we will go over this in a later, in a better, like in a different conversation. We will talk about this during the orientation, and if you are selected, and we do have weekly trainings and bi-weekly training with navigators. So there will be they will be trained how to work with this, and that's why the service partner need to provide the right information to the navigator to make sure that they are doing the right referrals. And what we are trying to do, consultations with the service partners so that they can identify needs that sometimes navigators cannot, and because they don't have the experience, and pretty much that is the strategy that we have been using this year and what we are planning to do next year as well.
Caitlin, if that answers your question, would you lower your WebEx hand? Excellent, thank you. Okay, Kirby, you are next up, and then Eugene will be after Kirby.
I'm trying to get an idea of the scale. So about how many new businesses have been served this year so far? Is it 10 or 100, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000? Where, on that scale are we in terms of new businesses brought in this year?
Like the program overall, you mean, Kirby?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so this year, I think that we are, Cassidy, do you have that number available right now?
Just
Yeah,
a round number is fine.
Yeah, so eligible referrals that are made, we have 296. Of those, 141 are new businesses that have not been served by prior organizations or in the prior co-op year.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kirby. And Eugene, you have a question. And then Neil, I think I accidentally lowered your hand for you. If you still have a question, please raise it again and you can ask it after Eugene. Thank you.
All right, thank you again, and Madeline. And well, the question is, when is it cut off to put businesses on the smart sheet or intake?
What was the question, Oji? Can you repeat the question?
Yes, when is there a cutoff date to for us to put any business on the intake or on the smart sheet?
Like for this year?
Yes.
So can we have this conversation tomorrow during our meeting? So I can review the smart sheet with you and we can go over that.
Okay,
Because I
that's
don't want
fine.
to tell you a date or time.
Okay, the main question I have is for the service providers. I know we mentioned this at one point. Are they still working on giving us a little bit better description of the services so we can, so our navigators can better explain this to our business opportunity businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. But let's take some time and tomorrow to go over that and we can review the smart sheet together and we will take the time for that. Because right now I'm not looking at smart sheet and I want to make sure that I can support you with that. Okay?
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Okay, and then Miel.
Hey, thank you. So I have a couple of questions. The first one, going off from what Liz was asking, we're curious if a navigator can be both a navigator and the executive director. So could the navigator take the role of both the executive director and the navigator?
Yeah.
Cool. Next question. There is a section on question 8 or on section 18 that talks about must upload performance summary provided by the county. Is that something that we haven't really heard about? What does this pertain to? The
We're
performance
behind,
summary.
and Cassidy will be providing it to you soon.
Yep. That's
Okay.
something that will be
Sounds good.
given for every current partner and we will be sent before the applications are due because you need that for your application. So we are currently working on that and Cassidy will be talking about it. I think that Daniel was trying to ask a question earlier while his mic was off. I just wanted to make sure if he has the opportunity, if he's around.
I just have one more question.
Yes, of course.
I just have one more question. Cool, thank you for that. And then I'm curious on what the job description addendum is and where we could find that.
So I can upload that and with the RFA, there was something that happened that it didn't did the attachment and we will be uploading that and I can send it to you as well.
Awesome, appreciate y'all.
Great. That clears all the active raised hands at this moment. Madeline, would you like me to go back to the PowerPoint?
Yes. So Kirby, you can find the application in our website and Jevon just put it in the chat. And right now we are going to talk about applications and applications are due, like I said, Monday, October 16th, and the deadline is 5 p.m. And if you have questions, you already know that you can send an email. We will be more than happy to answer your questions. Okay, so now I will let Cassidy talk about this part. And in case that you have questions, how to upload it, where to find it, and we can go from there. Thank you, Cassidy.
Yeah, thank you, Madeline. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a quick sort of explanation of all of the parts that are going to be involved in the application, where to find the application, and how to upload it. when you all see these slides, I'm not sure if we're going to go over them, but after a few of these like informational ones, there's going to be like screenshots of how to do everything. So if I'm able to share my screen, I'll just like step through it. And if not, we can just click through the slides on here. But to start out, there are going to be two parts to the application. So those of you that have already been kind of reading through and working on your application, you might have seen that at the top paragraph of the application, there's a link to a Smartsheet form. So there is the fillable Word document that's located on the co-op website. The link is here in the PowerPoint. It's also in the chat from Jevin. And then there's a Smartsheet form that is linked on that Word document, and that is the next part of the application. There is a specific form, like depending on if you are outreach or if you are service. So if you're trying to apply for both, pay attention to that when you're putting in your application. But those are linked on the form. It's on the Word document itself. So after you finish filling out the Word document, you'll go ahead and save it, export it as a PDF, and you'll upload it to the fillable form. So I can see if I can share my screen. See if this works. Okay, is everyone seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and step through this as though I'm doing an outreach application. And this is pretty straightforward. So if you have any questions or problems as you're doing this, again, I put a bunch of screenshots into the PowerPoint, but you can also email me. So this is the co-op website. You'll scroll down to the bottom. There's one for outreach application here and one for service application here. So you'll click whichever one is going to pertain to you. For me, this is business outreach application. So when I open the application, I'm going to see this viewing notification, which basically says all I can do is view it. I don't have permission to edit it. That's not entirely true. You just can't edit the document itself, but you can edit the fields that we need you to answer. So you'll just click OK, and then you'll click Enable Editing. So you can't edit any of this fields, the form itself. You can just edit the fields that exist within the form. So as you go through, anywhere where it says click or tap to enter text, of course, that's what you'll do. You'll just start typing. If there's a yes or no, you will just click in the box yes or no, whichever one is going to be correct. So make sure that as you're going through for every single question, you're filling in the answer. There are some that we provide links to help with those answers. And the reason we have part of the application in a Word document and part of it as a Smartsheet form is because we know that this might take some time to complete. So now that it's downloaded to your computer, you can work on it, save it, come back to it, things like that. After you finish filling out the Word document, you are going to export this document as a PDF. So you'll click File, Export, and create the PDF and save it to your computer. So that is the Word document portion of the application. The rest of the application exists on the Smartsheet form, and the link is here. And again, it's on the PowerPoint slide that we were just on. So if I hit Control and I click, it's going to open up the outreach application. As a quick heads up, if you're doing the outreach application, it's going to be light blue. If you're doing the service application, it's going to be light green. So I tried to also put colors here just as like a, just to catch you in case somehow we're ending up in the wrong spot because you're on one application or the other. So if you're doing outreach, it should be a blue application. It should say outreach. And you'll go ahead and fill in the rest. These questions are mostly going to be yes or no questions about whether or not you agree to and understand the expectations of participating in co-op as an outreach partner, and then for the service application as a service partner. So you'll fill in all of these fields, and then at the bottom, this is where you're going to upload that PDF of the Word document, resumes that are required, and the performance review. This looks different if you're an outreach partner than if you're a service partner. So for outreach, you're also going to have navigator resumes, and again, that performance review if you were previously a partner. If you're a service partner, it's just going to be that completed application and the senior leadership resumes. I am so sorry, my cat is screaming to leave. So you'll just, after you fill all of this out, you're just going to click browse files. I have, so I'm just going to say, these are here's a leadership resume I have, my navigator, outreach application, performance review. I'm just going to click all of those. They all need to be there. And then I can, if I want, click to send me a copy of my responses and put my email here. And that's just going to give me a copy of all of the answers that I've given to these questions here. I recommend this if you're wanting to have a record of your responses for yourself. Of course, you'll have your application document, but if you don't send a copy of these answers to yourself, you won't have a record of them. So that is always a good option if you're wanting to maintain a record of all of that. And then once all of that is done, we will then have your application, your resumes, your performance review if you were previously a partner, and then your answers to these questions. And these will all live in Smartsheets, and then we will do our part to review everything and continue the process and then let you know if you're going to be a partner. It's very important, circling back to the Word doc, in comparison to Smartsheet, we cannot make the responses on the Word doc required. So it is very important that as you are working through that, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but I want to say it is very, very important that as you're doing the Word document for the application, that you make sure that you've answered every single question on there, because they are all required. We unfortunately cannot do the same thing we do on Smartsheet, where it will not allow you to to submit it without it being fully filled out. But yeah, so that's a very quick explanation of where to find everything and what all needs to be done for the application. Are there any questions?
And I guess I would also add that the slide deck that we're posting in the recording will have these screenshots and the explanations of what Cassidy just went through as a static reference for you.
Yeah. I happen to enjoy putting together little things like this. So it is all there if you need a refresher on it or have any questions there. But if you have any questions for me right now, I'd be happy to take any of them.
If you have questions for Cassidy or other questions for Madeline, Jevin, the team, will you please raise your hand in the WebEx meeting? Okay, Rick has a question. Feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead, Rick. So Rick, it's showing that you're still muted. I don't know if you can find the mute button on your WebEx controls, but that will help us get to your question here. Don't know why. There we go. Go ahead, Rick.
It wouldn't let me unmute myself.
Okay.
So I just wanted to confirm that even though the business services application includes information that we've likely already provided the county on prior applications, that we have to submit the entirety of the application anew. Is that correct?
Correct.
Very good. Thank you.
Mary Ann, I'm sending you a request to unmute. There you go.
Thank you. All right. Maybe I missed it, but I just wanted to double check that I didn't miss a breakdown of like what template you want us to use for the budget and the budget justifications. Is that a different spreadsheet that you want us to use and then upload as part of the application?
And Marianne, is this for business services or business outreach? Oh, we may have lost her. I'll answer it for both. For business outreach, as we were talking earlier, you don't submit a budget. You propose how many hours you plan to work, and there's a formula which then informs the budget. For business services, that's where you need to kind of give the cost per service, the total amount of services that are available, and then kind of do the math that then says, here's the amount that we request. Madeline, do you want to add anything to that?
No, you answered that perfectly. Thank you.
Perfectly, she says.
Perfectly.
Any other questions?
I don't see any other hands raised.
Anne Marie, do you want to raise your hand and circle back to your earlier questions? Here we go.
Okay, so my question is about no-shows, and I mean, it's pretty standard practice, you know, to charge, not through co-op, but pretty much everything else, if there's a associated, you know, time or resources it takes to prepare. I mean, our center experiences that when somebody no-shows and you've held the time, you haven't let anybody else have that time, and then when nobody no-shows, there is still a loss of, you know, resources or time or whatever. Have you considered paying part of it for our goodwill and being available when that person no-shows, or can that be included not as a no-show fee, but as administrative, like, time or whatever that could compensate for no-shows that will happen?
Teresa, can I do a phone a friend here, because I'm not sure how this could work with our procurement process. Obviously, someone might propose it and we decline, but I don't know whether it would be better to propose that fee as a service or as an administrative cost. Any thoughts there?
Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Young from Contracts and Procurement, and I should have said hi earlier when I chimed in. No, thanks, Jevin, for asking. We can only provide pay for services. So I would not have them included as a no-show, but included as an administrative cost. We would still have the right to reserve the right to negotiate that or to decline that.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer. I think that gives you what you need, Anne Marie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my, I mean, of course, I don't like the answer, but I understand that it has to be that way. So
no, it's a great question, and I'm glad that you asked that.
But, and Teresa, just to clarify, you did say that it could be proposed as an administrative cost.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that part. Administrative. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was the good news.
That was the great news. That was the great news. Of course, there's the caveat of, you know, we always reserve the right to negotiate what you've proposed.
Good. No, that makes a lot of sense to me, because you're right. We didn't provide the service. However, we did have some administrative cost to it. So that makes sense. Thank you very much.
You're very
welcome. Just a couple other things. I already asked about that. So, and this might just be reiterating or ask about something that we've already covered, but like the preparation of the invoices, that would also could be proposed as an administrative cost. Is that right?
You know, and this is if you're thinking for business services.
Yes, business services. Correct.
You may propose that. And I would say that we have never approved that as a cost in the past. I think the view has been that that sort of cost should be built into the service cost. But that doesn't mean that you can't propose it, you know. And again, as someone who's not going to be on the selection committee, I don't know how they'll look at it, but it really comes down to if there is a reasonable cost that you incur and is in the end the cost to the county is competitive with everything else we've seen, people are open to reasonable costs.
Okay, that I will definitely put it on the proposal, because I mean, the person who's doing our services, like our advisors, they are not the ones who prepare invoices. So to me, it's not a service cost to us, at least not related to that, but we will propose it as administrative cost. It truly is an administrative cost to us. So I believe I have asked all of my questions. So thank you.
We do not have any other hands raised at this point.
All right. Thank you all. Look forward to seeing the applications.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join this webinar. If you have further questions, please feel free to send us an email. You can use our website for applications and for the RFA. And please make sure to read the RFA before jumping in to start answering yes to all the questions in the application. And that will make us very happy. And we are very excited to receive your applications and to respond to your questions. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And if we don't have any further questions, we will end this webinar in the next 30 seconds.